Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have their natal Venus in the second house of earned income, possessions, and self-worth. And values, I should say, too. And Venus is the goddess of love and beauty in the second house that she rules under the sign of Taurus. This can be a very earthy position for Venus. So if you're looking at, let's say, somebody who has Venus in Pisces and possibly the sun in Pisces as well, this person will look at their material objects from, I think, the position also of sentimentality and also, I should say, Venus in Cancer, where the person, it's not just this materialistic kind of an outlook on things, but they really value certain items that have sentimental value to them. There can be a connection with a certain memory, for instance. And when I was compiling information, last night I was just kind of reading some of the online material about this placement because I was going to do it last night. And I ended up putting it off until today, so I wish I could attribute it to a certain website. But they also mentioned some famous people who have this placement, and one of them was Elton John. And Elton John, I recently read his autobiography, and he was talking about how his parents had a stormy marriage and how they would take, I don't know what kind of things, but these objects, I'm assuming they were like knickknacks or something that they were supposed to value, and they would throw them, when they were fighting. And he couldn't, it like really bothered him that they did that. Well, that's perfect. I totally remembered him writing that because I was thinking of people who put a great deal of importance on these material items. And I think he also said he was a collector. So that's another thing. Now, one of the sources, the online sources, said this doesn't mean that the person is materialistic. Well, I would beg to differ. I think that maybe possibly if Venus is in a water sign, the possessions, like I said, will have sentimental value versus that material, oh, this is worth so much money. But remember, materialism can be about the physical things, the things that we have. So even somebody that has that kind of sentimental attachment still has an attachment to things. And to me, that's a form of materialism. I think there's kind of like this idea that being materialistic means that you're just very greedy, you want money, you're just into what money can buy, and you just buy a lot of things that you don't need, and your life is just on that level. But I think that it can also apply to people that are attached to material objects, and I think that a lot of people are, but I'm saying excessively. So even like somebody who's a hoarder might have Venus in a water sign in the second house. I didn't read anything like that, but that's what I'm getting at here. And the thing that can come about as well, this is like having Venus in Taurus. And so people can look to their loved ones as material possessions. This is one of the things that can happen with somebody who has Venus in Taurus as well. Now, let's say your Venus is in the second house and you have the sun in Taurus or the sun in Scorpio or even the sun in Leo. I'm thinking of signs that I consider kind of possessive. Then this can just exacerbate that problem because, yes, it is a problem to be possessive of others. There may be some people that you get involved with who will be flattered by somebody being possessive towards them. At least in the beginning, they can think, wow, this person really cares. Not understanding that the full extent of this is looking at another human being as property, and there's an egocentric side to that. So it should be examined. It should be considered a trait that you want to eradicate, not something that you want to celebrate or continue. And another thing is this is another thing that Venus in Taurus tends to do, is, having your romantic relationships, or even, I think this could extend to your friendships, to any kind of relationship where you're experiencing affection with that person. So basically your close relationships, where if somebody gives you a gift, you're judging that person based upon the amount of money they spent on you, the gift itself. Like, was that a gift that really, kind of captured who you are? I think people who have water signs, Venus in the second house, can be exceptional gift givers, and they can really kind of hone in on a person's energy and give them a gift that the other person can receive in a way that is very like, wow, you really know me. But they may expect the same thing. And I think especially if your Venus is in a water sign, you may think, but I think even, I'll say the Venus in the water sign, you're going to judge them on how well they hone in on your energy. If your Venus is in an earth sign, you may be like, how much did you spend on me? And of all the fire signs, I might say Leo, the same thing, are you, spending enough money on me because I'm so fabulous? But with the earth signs, it's more like, I spent this on you and I expect you to spend this on me, because there's that materialism. And especially Taurus, if your Venus is in Taurus in the second house, oof. And I'm semi-joking, but you know what I mean. It's just like, how much did you spend on me? And that, of course, is a very limited, lower level version of love. That is not love in and of itself, and even a token of affection. You have to realize that some people have issues with money. They don't like to spend it in general. So it's not a slam against you. And some people really don't know how to be a good gift giver. Some people just aren't, that's not their thing. And if a person is materialistic, they're going to get into a tizzy about this and be like, oh gosh, this person is really, they don't care about me, and it's not really fair to the other person. In some cases, there may be some, truth to that, where the person really doesn't seem to vibe with you. But it's not because of the money that they spent, but simply the overall kind of lack of emotional resonance or spiritual, connection, if you will. If you have this placement, you're going to be very ethical. You're going to have a tendency to value. That's going to be something. And I also think, I didn't see this, but I could also see somebody who values manners and just making the world a better place. I also think, or they also mentioned about how you make a living, because the second house is the money that you earn. And this could be in an area that is artistic. And also, whatever it is that you do for a living, chances are, because you have this love of luxury, that you're going to make a good living. You're going to want to. That's going to be one of your values. And so I did just bring up this website. It's called astrologyk.com. And it was very interesting because they said that there are certain people who are going to be driven by their values versus material possessions. So, somebody who, even like a philosopher, I suppose. So maybe if you have Venus and Sagittarius in the second house, it will be more about concepts of spiritual concepts being brought down. And I think that would be brought down to a material level very nicely, where people can practically access that kind of information and utilize it in a very grounded way. So I don't know if that is a good interpretation, but that's how I see it. So yes, maybe there are some people who are much more, where Venus in the second house isn't so much about acquisition of material objects, but more about the values, promoting more values, spiritual values. Venus in Pisces in the second, Venus in Sag, or if it's air signs, maybe ethics. And that can run the gamut of kinds of things. And it's funny too, because I could even see Venus in the second house of being a lawyer, but having that, kind of like, fighting corporations. I don't know. Maybe I'm going off on a tangent. Or Aquarius in the second house, the values of society. But the other thing too is, I wonder if Venus retrograde, if you're born with Venus retrograde in the second house, if that's even more values driven, because it's internal values. So something to think about. Definitely, if you have Venus in the second house, when you fall in love, that's it. You're not going to be, because this is a house of Taurus, it's very stubborn in its love. And so even if you're Venus in Gemini, or I'll even say Venus in Pisces is the exalted Venus, but because it's in Pisces, I could see somebody having a little bit of a particularly malleable or fickle nature, where they're able to kind of perhaps be swayed by someone new who comes along, and this will make you much more loyal and just devoted to your partner. So in any case, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this. Take care. Bye.